Hello and welcome to the Manchester is Blue show. Tom Brunt here. Hope everyone's all right. We're joined by three new faces. We've got Cloud, Tibbs and Addy. How are we doing, chaps? We all right?
Yeah, we're good.
Right.
Fantastic. So, just to give everyone a bit of an idea, this is a mashup with Discord, the online platform, and Man City Discord is where everyone knows each other from. It's growing quickly, that, isn't it? Is it 2,500 people on it now, the Man City Discord?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something like that.
It's growing really well, and it's growing so quickly, I can't keep up with it. So I can only stay in one little chat room, one little server, just to see what's going on. And I love all the little gossip ones and stuff. So if you're listening to this, you're not sure what Discord is, we'll put a link below so everyone can go straight to it. But what we're going to do is, we're all City fans. This is a couple of days after the Manchester derby. There's only one place to start, isn't there? And that is the game itself. Has anybody just woken up from the most boring derby I've seen in my 38 years of watching City? Horrible. Tibbs, what's your thoughts on the game, pal?
I tend to be a very optimistic person. So for me, the fact that the defense held strong, that was great. Now, could we have scored? Hell yeah. Should we? Yes. But happy that Diaz and Stones held. You know.
They're looking so solid, aren't they? It's funny, isn't it? Cloud, we talked about on our show a few weeks ago that we've literally City have pivoted from having a really shaky defence and really worried, but being able to score goals, to not being able to score goals, and the defence looks absolutely solid now. Where do you stand in the argument of, actually, do you know what, I'd still prefer us to score lots of goals now as well as conceding, but, it's a tough one. That.
As a viewer, you always want to see your team score goals. You want to see that beautiful football where, you just... It's 6-0 everybody every weekend, but it's when you're leaking goals like we do, you had to address it. And now Pep's sorted out the back line. You can kind of address it from back there and see what you're doing, and get back to what's stopping us creation-wise. I think one of the things that's come into play there, I think De Bruyne is not getting enough help in midfield. We seem to be overrunning midfield, whereas just 2 seasons ago we had Fernandinho, David Silva, Kevin De Bruyne. We had the best midfield in the league and possibly the world, and now we can't seem to even get a moment on the ball in midfield anymore.
It's a tough one, isn't it? There's a sacrifice to make there. Addy, what's your thoughts on watching City and the double pivot that we seem to play when we want to be defensive? Because like Carl said, it's securing up the midfield for us to stop conceding goals. But is it stopping us from going forward that much more? Would a Bernardo Silva be better placed in that position?
Yeah. I think, adding on to what Cloud said, Kevin De Bruyne needs more help in the midfield, because from the 4-2-3-1 formation, Sterling and Mahrez tend to go forward and help Jesus with the attack, and De Bruyne is just in that tiny clamp of space. With the double pivot, I think it's limiting our midfield from creating passes into the opposition back line and defense in general, and that's why we can't score.
Do you think that's why Pep likes Gundogan so much? Because he can do that defensive bit, and he can do he's obviously a good footballer as well. There's a lot of people that love and hate. He's like Marmite, isn't he, Gundogan? You either love him or you hate him. But he's obviously, Pep's got him there to do a job. And Tibbs, do you think that helps free Kevin De Bruyne up?
Using Gundo, I really love Gundo. I know he gets. It sounds like he's a bit of a love and hate relationship, depending on people. But for me, I do like the way that he tries to help and pace things. He's also solid. He's not someone who I know is gonna go off and try crazy dribbles. He's just someone reliable for me.
I want to talk to you three about the defence now and the resurgence of John Stones and this partnership him and Diaz are forming. I felt a little bit sorry for Laporte. The camera kept panning to him this weekend, and he didn't look happy, did he, Cloud? But you can't really argue with Pep's motivation for not playing him and playing Stones. What would you do in Pep's position?
I think Pep's sort of using Laporte as an example as such. I don't think his form has gone out the window. I think that the competition for places in defence has just risen so sharply. I think Pep's making an example, and with the things he came out to the media, he said, look, it's not rotation. I think that's saying to everybody in the squad, if you want to play, show me in training that you deserve to play. And I think Laporte's the sort of character where he understands that, and he's going to fight for his place to get back. And I do feel sorry for him. I also feel sorry for Ake. But I know there's definitely going to be times when Laporte's going to come back into the squad where he's going to be that consistent starter again. And I like Pep being more ruthless like this. I want to see him actually holding players accountable and actually making them work harder to play, to get the results, because we need them. We're mid-table right now as things stand.
It's a funny one, isn't it? I can't remember. It was the last game we played and Ake played at left back. Was it Marseille?
Yeah, Marseille.
And he was brilliant. He was solid, quick, fast. He knew how to pass the ball. It was Marseille, wasn't it? It wasn't Fulham. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we've got that option now. That position at left back, slowly but surely, being divided up into Mendy, Cancelo, and Ake. And it's a tough one that for any player because the consistency is needed. But I prefer Cancelo. What do you think, Addy? What's your thoughts on our left back position at the minute?
Our left back position, I think Mendy is our go-to because he knows how Pep plays. He's like an attacking back. He goes up the wing and comes back, and he can recover in time. It's great that Cancelo gets that praise, but he's more of the central player, and I don't think Pep is playing him in the right position at the time. That's
an interesting one. Tibbs, you were shaking, you agreeing there vehemently. Are you in agreement with that?
I mean, I'm French, so like Mendy, and I come from the southeast where Monaco was my hometown team. So for me, Mendy is always going to be a go-to, but I think similar to basketball where there's talks about load management and players sitting out certain games, I would be happy if that was the case for Mendy, for him to get a good amount of play time, but then also have some games when even if he's healthy, he rests for a little bit to avoid any future injury. Because we know what it is with him.
I mean, there's so much competition for places. What about you, Cloud? Who would you play at left back?
I put Mendy, and I think one of the big problems that we're having creation-wise at the moment is we're playing inverted wingers. We can do that, and I noticed this a lot when we were playing against, I think it was Burnley, we won 5-0. We had Mendy playing at left back, and then I think it was maybe Cancelo who was playing at right back, but we had fullbacks who could run up the side and stretch the pitch out with the inside wingers, and it just seemed to work like a charm. If we're playing inside wingers up front, I'd like to see fullbacks in a position where they can hug the byline, and with Cancelo, he needs to cut on the inside onto his stronger foot and go closer to midfield. And for anyone who's playing against him, if he's playing left back, that's what's going to make him a bit more predictable than someone like Mendy in that same position. Cancelo is probably the best fullback that we have, but his best position is on the right side.
And are we all in agreement that Walker's our best right back at the club then? Would anyone have an argument against somebody like Cancelo playing at right back instead of Walker?
Walker is... he is a good right back, but he tends to go up and not be able to recover fast enough against a counter if we were to lose the ball. I don't feel like it works out in that position.
It's a funny one, isn't it, this weekend? Because what we saw was when Walker, it was Cancelo who played against United, wasn't it? Had a complete brain fart then. When they went up the field, Fernandinho stepped back into the centre three, didn't he, to go up with Stones and Diaz, which created a back three to give us that possession. I think that's why we didn't lose so much possession and had so much possession in the midfield. So it's an interesting one that. What bugs me a little bit with our defence, I don't know what you guys think of this, is Garcia playing. Do you think with the options that we've got, it's a hard one this. So Card, I'll come to you on this. If you were in Pep's shoes, would you be playing Garcia even though he said he wants to leave, or would you be giving the opportunity to the Howard Bellises or even Ake, for example, to hone him into that defensive position?
Normally, I would play Ake. I think at that time, the only thing I can think of is that he wasn't quite fit. Like Aguero's training again now, but he's fresh off injury, so we're sort of easing him back in. But if it's terms of rotation, you need someone to fill that. He is still our player. He is still contracted with us. He's not causing issues with the media. He's not having his agent speak on his behalf or anything like that. He's been a real professional. So I don't see any reason not to play him. As for Harwood Bellis, if Harwood Bellis is good enough in Pep's mind to play that position, by all means play him, otherwise send him out on loan. But if he thinks for that particular match that Garcia is the best fit, then don't let the contract thing get in the way. Play him the same way when we had Sane and he wanted to leave. If he was still fit, play him if he's going to win us that match.
Yeah, I don't blame you for that, thinking that mentality. So moving into a midfield bit, and one point that you wanted to mention, Cloud, was the 4-4-2 to 4-3-3. We'll talk about the 4-3-3 formation at the moment, and having that double pivot with Rodri and Fernandinho. Tell me what you would do slightly different in relation to the game this weekend. Would you have done anything different in hindsight to what Pep did in the formation?
I think we're best in transition. So when I think of like 17-18 City and 18-19 City, I'm thinking of Kevin De Bruyne running up the field, that surge and run, wingers on either side, maybe Gundogan as well, or David Silva. And we've got a lot of options in attack. But although we lined up in a 4-2-3-1, what we were actually doing, we had Kevin De Bruyne and Jesus, who were up front, in front of the central defenders, and they were shadow marking Fred and McTominay. And then we had sort of like four behind them, where we had Rodri and we had Fernandinho putting the pressure to Pogba and Fernandes, and Sterling and Mahrez on the sides. And what that did was the closest 7 players to KDB and Jesus were all Manchester United players. It completely took them out of the game. Jesus really didn't get many touches of the ball, and whenever De Bruyne got on the ball, it was constantly pressured immediately. And we're talking about a player who got 20 Premier League assists in the league last season, and we stripped him of any chance to make something.
Would you have played the same team, or would you have made any different changes? Or would you have made changes sooner than what happened? We brought Torres on, didn't we? But we had Foden there, crying out for the game as a blue.
Yeah, starting on, I would have put Mendy on the left back. That's probably the only change that I'd arguably make. After seeing the first 45 minutes, Mahrez was completely isolated. He was having to drift in centrally. Kyle Walker was going up on the side, and Luke Shaw was marking him. And we weren't making anything on that right side. We were really only making anything on the left, and even then, not by much. I would have brought either Torres on the right side, where he had an immediate impact, or like you said, Foden on the left. But immediately, I saw that on the right side, that's where we were crying out for support.
I've got a great stat here for the Mendy fans. City's goals scored in the Premier League this season, with Mendy playing, 13 goals in 5 games. Without Mendy playing, 4 goals in 6 games. So it definitely makes you wonder, actually, is he that link that we needed, that outlet we need? And from that, there's always that question about his defensive side of things, though. But like you say, Prime Mendy at Monaco, Tibbs, you know as well as I do, he was phenomenal against us, wasn't he?
That team, still in my heart.
What's your thoughts on the striker option then, Addy?
Striker option, we definitely need to work on that, because we can't keep relying on Jesus to have the workload and the entire thing. He has to stay up forward, but then at the same time on counters he can come back. That's why I think City needs to look at more options in the transfer window. For the striker.
Yeah. Definitely. Pep's come out and said he's not going to sign anyone in January, is he? Which really bugs me.
Yeah.
Really bugs me, because Haaland's the one I want for City. I think, but I think there's probably another 50 clubs that would like Haaland to play for them as well. So the chances of getting that are slim. Have you two or you three got any other ideas of who we could potentially bring in that's going to make that massive difference? Because Sergio's unfortunately not getting any younger, and his injury record's starting to build up now. So we need to start making that hard decision very soon. Tibbs, what's your thoughts on a striker? Have you got any scouting trips to Monaco for us? Is there anyone that we can take from them?
I think Mbappe is out of contract a year from now, right? A year and a half. But I think that's too far. I think we need someone. If it's not going to happen in January, we're going to need to pay good money this summer. I just don't know who it could be, because we need. To me, Jesus is very different from Aguero, and their strengths are very different. So thinking about someone who could not necessarily replace Aguero, but help Jesus more, maybe. I don't know. There's no name that strikes me as a good solution. I know there's words of Lautaro Martinez
Yeah.
from Inter, but same thing. If you look at the way Inter plays, I much prefer Lukaku in that sense.
There's a lot of shouts for Lukaku. There's an awful lot of shouts. What about you, Addy? What's your thoughts?
Some player, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Everton striker.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really good, and he's out of contract soon, I think. I don't know, but I think that's a good long-term replacement.
You were going to upset a lot of Everton fans by saying that. You know that, don't you?
Yeah, I know.
It's an interesting one,
Not
Calvert-Lewin. It's an interesting one with Calvert-Lewin. Because I've not heard his name mentioned before, but now I think about it, actually, he knows where the goal is.
He is tall, he's clinical, he can score with any of his feet or his head. Sounds really good.
Or I heard somebody mention a few weeks ago, about a young Jamie Vardy would be good for us at this moment in time. Anyone that's a bit of aggression, bit of passion, somebody like that sort of ilk. It's an interesting one. Right, we'll move on from the derby. We're moving into Champions League now. Obviously, City have got Mönchengladbach in the next round. We've played there a few times recently. I think the last game, Sergio got a hat-trick. He got 2 or 3 goals, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
He got one with a penalty.
15, 16.
Thank you. Yeah, we have to be. I'm very much of a mindset of I won't give predictions because I'm a bit superstitious and stuff like that. But we've got to be happy with that result as a draw. From the ones we could get, Tibbs, what's your thoughts on Mönchengladbach? Obviously, every team's dangerous in this stage. We have to hold our hands up and accept that. But what's your thoughts at this stage?
I mean, their attacking trio, I would say, can be very dangerous. But as long as we don't underestimate them, we should be able to get in control. As they can be scary when they click. They can be very scary on the counterattack. But I don't think that's anything that we wouldn't be able to handle. And I also think, in comparison to all of the other teams that we could have drawn with, very happy that it's Gladbach and not, Barcelona or some of the others, or PSG.
Yeah, it could have been a lot worse. Just to give everyone an idea of the draw in detail. Obviously, it was live with us before. But we have obviously City versus Mönchengladbach, Lazio versus Munich, Atletico Madrid versus Chelsea, Leipzig, Liverpool, Porto, Juve, Barca, PSG, Sevilla, Dortmund, Atalanta, Real Madrid. Straight away, my eyes go to Leipzig, Liverpool, Atletico, Chelsea, Barca, Paris. There's some cracking games there, isn't there, in the offing? And most importantly, there's some big names that are going to be out the next draw straight away. Cloud, which games there jump out to you? Obviously, apart from the City one.
I think the one that I'm most excited to see who's going to win is probably Atletico draw, because I mean they're so well run by Diego, and then also watching Liverpool play Red Bull is going to be interesting. Obviously Angelino's on loan there, so I'm going to be watching that game anyway just to see how he does because he's been on fire lately. But those are two of the big games I'm looking forward to, and then Barcelona, PSG. Either way, that's a cracking match to get someone out early for us.
The next rounds, that once the clubs are through, the quarterfinals are drawn and the semi-finals are drawn in the same night, so you can kind of see that path and that progression going into the next round from following this. So, for me, I just hope Pep has learnt from Lyon. And potentially, we're starting to see that now. A lot of players were saying, a lot of fans, were saying actually, Pep needs to learn his new tactics, etc., etc., etc. Have you started to see that in the Premier League games with him being a bit more defensive-minded in his setup going into the Champions League this year? Addy, what's your thoughts on that?
I think Pep is a lot focused on tactics, but City should also focus on normal football, like getting the ball, passing it around, and creating opportunities. Because with all these tactics in play, especially playing defensively in the Premier League and then attacking in the Champions League, you can't underestimate your opponents. You have to catch on really quickly, otherwise it's not going to go well for you.
Well said. Yeah, no, it's true actually. I'm just really worried, Cloud, that Pep's just going to overthink this Germany game massively. and it's just going to be another Leon. And that's the eternal pessimist in me thinking negatively straight away. How do you think he's going to come to this?
I mean, that's like in 3 years now on the trot, and 3 years running, it's come back to bite him. I really just wish that his assistant manager or someone there, when he's thinking these things out loud, they were just there to say, calm down. Because we're better than these squads, man to man. Tactically, we've got the best coach. I wish there was just sort of go with what we're good at, put faith in the lads to go out and deliver. And one thing in the Champions League last year that really struck out to me were two things. The first was against Real Madrid, both legs, where the team looked absolutely fantastic. They were phenomenal.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't really want an easy draw, because I think the harder draws bring out the best in us. And then the second one was, I think it was Jesus' goal against Real Madrid where De Bruyne set up that brilliant assist. And they showed it from a different angle. And when the ball went in, Kyle Walker fell to the ground and he started hitting the ground repeatedly. He was so happy. And that sort of passion, that's what you want to see the players take into a Champions League knockout match. And that's why I want those harder matches to see them play like that.
Yeah, it's not taking that momentum from that Madrid game into the Lyon game is so frustrating, and it was a proper overthink by that. Do you think that, this is a bit of a side question now, that the opportunity of bringing a Messi type player into the team would help that in any way?
I think it has to. No?
If we were to bring Messi, as in like the Messi, then because of the transfer, it got declined. I mean, he's worked with Pep before. That chemistry might click in, but it might not work because, like, if you look, we already have so many great front players. I don't know where Pep would fit that in. Like, one player is going to have to get hurt.
Where I was getting to with that is, do you think that, obviously, Pep's number two, I haven't got a clue who's Pep's number two is now at the minute. I don't know. Do you three know his name? I'm not.
Lilio, maybe?
No idea.
That's it.
I've no idea. Honestly, I've no idea. That's really bad insight. I should know that.
If I could add some...
Yeah, no,
if I
please,
could
yeah,
add
crack on.
to, like, Pep, like, overthinking it, I think the other teams, like, crack on that weakness. They know Pep's going to overthink something, and they just go right at that weakness, that little weak point we have. And then they know Pep's going to be like, okay, something like this is going to happen, they're going to do exactly this, and then they do the exact opposite and bring the worst in us.
Well, would a Messi type player who has worked with Pep before be able to say to Pep, listen, stop overthinking, come on, we'll play to our strengths and we'll win this game? Would that type of player coming in really help the team get to the next? I mean, he's going to on the pitch, isn't he? He's a fantastically magical player. Where do you three stand on the potential of Messi coming in? Do you want him?
It would be great if Messi were to come in, but I don't think that it'll happen, because if you know, Neymar just came in with a comment that he wants Messi to come to Barcelona, PSG, and everyone thinks that Messi is going to go to PSG because Neymar just said a comment, and I don't think it's really much of a possibility anymore.
Go on, Cloud.
I think that Messi coming to us, I think it's fantastic commercially. And when you're talking about that sort of player on the pitch, I don't think it would so much calm Pep down. The role I'd like to see him in isn't that on the right wing. I'd like to see him play maybe sort of like a striker or false nine, which is a role we're crying out for anyway, that central forward position, however it's played. But I think that's going to have an effect on your opponent, because if we're playing, I'll say Tottenham, for example, if we were playing Tottenham and we had Messi dribbling through, their defenders are going to think that's Messi running at us with the ball. And you can maybe take them out of somewhat of a disciplined formation or a disciplined nature of how they're playing, like United were on Derby, because of who's actually charging at them in front. And if that's the plan, using him to maybe direct play to maybe De Bruyne or Mahrez or Sterling or Foden or whoever else that we've got, that can maybe help us get a bit more creativity and break down those teams, because they're going to be so eager to charge at him and get the ball off him immediately because of who he is.
Yeah, that will free up the space around it. I think commercially spot on. It would be phenomenal for us, wouldn't it? We're going to be talking about transfers in a minute, so I'll leave this question to one side. But Tibbs, what's your thoughts on a Messi type player coming in? If not Messi, would you have somebody else coming in?
I haven't really thought about someone else for a midfielder. I know there's been some rumors, and maybe we'll get back to that soon. But Zakaria, I don't know enough about him. But interestingly, we're going to play him soon. But Messi, commercially, business-wise, I think City can offer something that PSG can't, which is for him to play in the Premier League and then move to MLS or any of the other City football groups positions. So from a business perspective, I think it would be great. Commercially, obviously, would sell a lot of shirts. I don't know where he would fit, but similar to what Cloud said, I think if you're, any team in the top 6 and you have Messi coming fast at you, dribbling, someone's going to want to get a piece of that, and maybe that'll free up the space for him to do his thing.
If I could add something.
Please do.
It is a good idea to bring Messi. I would say it's something City can afford him, but it's a question of whether they should actually buy him or not. Because if you think about it, we could get younger, better strikers that we can develop through our systems for much cheaper than having to bring in Messi, because he's 150 million, no doubt. But you could bring in a younger striker that you can train and develop to your ways for maybe like 80 million.
Well, I think that's perfectly segues into the topic of gossip columns and potential transfers. Addy, if you were Tixie and Pep, you were involved in the board meeting in a couple of months' time to talk about players we should be bringing in, what areas in our team would you be looking to strengthen?
I would be looking to strengthen the midfield and attacking portion of City.
Yeah.
Because you can't have one midfielder or two midfielders doing all the work. You need a strong line backups just in case. Because you can't have De Bruyne doing all the attacking work and Fernandinho doing all the defensive work. You need that little midpoint as well. And attacking wise, we also need a backup for Jesus and maybe like a potential starter as well.
I think potential starter's a good one. I don't think I'd bring in a backup for Jesus. I think that person would be too. I think we potentially got a backup in Delap, although I don't know if he's going to be good enough to play for us. I think we need to be bringing in someone that's going to challenge, if not be better than Jesus, so Jesus raises his game. Cloud, what's your thoughts on positions you'd want to fill for us?
I think the first thing that's going to happen, and I think something that might even happen in January, is I think Zinchenko might leave us in January.
Yeah.
He's not been played, and Pep doesn't seem to have any inclination to play him. So I don't know. I mean, he'd love to stay here, but he's also got to think of himself. And this is something that was touched on in summer, whereas I think it was Sam Lee said that City were looking at a left-back replacement, but to do anything like that, they'd have to shift off Zinchenko. And with the whole Koulibaly saga going on, and then Diaz, time just got away from us. So I think a left-back coming in, an actual left-back, is going to be one thing we look at. And then the only other thing is going to be a striker. And the names I've been looking at, like Addy said, Dominic Calvert-Lewin was one I was thinking of. And then two more were maybe Lucas Jovic from Real Madrid. We might be able to snatch him up quite cheap. And then also maybe Paulo Dybala from Juventus.
Yeah.
Those are two names I'm looking at. And some people have said, I think it was Nunes from Benfica.
Darwin Nunes.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about 140 million, that they're going to ask for him. And the problem with that is if you spend that amount of money on someone and it doesn't pan out, you can't really get rid of them. And that's where Chelsea are in a real stinker right now with Kepa. So I'm kind of worried about spending that much money. And it doesn't fit our transfer profile either. But those are three options. And then with that, Foden can actually come back into midfield. I think the reason he's on left wing at the moment is we've got two primary left wingers, which are Sterling and Ferran Torres. But when Torres is playing striker and Sterling is playing on the left wing, neither of them are getting rest for the next game. So when Foden can ship in there as left wing, that brings in rotation. If we get another striker coming, he can move back to midfield, and everything kind of evens out, and everyone can get an adequate amount of game time to be happy.
It's funny, isn't it? Because Foden was always going to be the replacement for Silva, and he's not been played in the same formation or the same position, etc., etc. So it's a hard one to take that. Pep must see something there, or maybe not trust Foden enough to be playing in that position just yet. But I would like to see him more there. Yeah, you're spot on. For me, I think we missed a trick with is it How Felix? Felix? Yeah. I think we missed a trick with him. I think, like you said, Nunes is the City aren't like this anymore. City aren't going to spend 180, 100 million on a player. I don't think. I just think we the Torres type players are the ones we're under the radar, bring them in, and they turn into superstars. I think that's City's tactics from now on. What are you going to say, Addy? Sorry.
I think we should I think City should probably try and invest or look into a backup for Ederson, because after his contract plays out, almost every club that can afford him is probably going to try and offer him a contract. That's why I think City should look at good keeper options and backups in general.
It's funny you say that. I've never ever considered Ederson leaving us, and I don't know why, because obviously he's not from Manchester, is he? And he's not as loyal as anybody else.
It's not likely, but yeah. It's not likely, but it could happen, and that's why I think City doesn't have a great backup like Stefan. He will obviously be. He already came in, but I think City should also have more options to consider from.
I think Stefan needs to be given a chance. I think he's done brilliant stuff while he's played away on loan. He did it all right the other night. Nothing. He wasn't going to pull up any trees, was he? But yeah, I kind of know what you mean there. I don't like the idea of replacing Ederson.
Yeah, I don't either. It's kind of scary.
I don't even know how long he's got left on his contract, but yeah, for me, I think if we're going to spend any money this summer, a striker, and I like use the Cloud, Zinchenko, I just can't see him having a future at City. He's 23, 24. It's sad that, isn't it? Because he's not going to. He plays for not Europe. Is it Europe? No, Ukraine. Thank you. In midfield, he's never going to play midfield for City. He's going to play at left back. Well, he's probably third choice left back now, behind Ake, Cancelo, and Mendy.
Yeah.
I think for his own career, Zinchenko needs to leave, and he'll get a good goodbye and a well done. I know the Wolves came in for him. Was it 15 odd million a couple of seasons ago?
Yeah, that's right.
Won't be surprised to see them come back in because he's a good player. I don't. There's nothing against Zinchenko. I think he did fantastic for us stepping in at left back a season or so ago, and. Do any of you guys consider Zinchenko having a future at City?
No, not really. I mean, if he were to stay at City, I think it would be best for him to change his position from left back to maybe defensive midfielder.
Yeah.
He could be that second pivot next to Fernandinho.
Because when he plays for the Ukraine, he's great. He's really good. He knows how to find the ball. He knows how to shoot. He can score. He can pass. Is it just that Pep just doesn't trust him enough to give him that opportunity? Do you think?
I think. Carry on, Addy.
No, you carry on.
Okay, what I've noticed with Zinchenko is it's a similar thing with Cancelo, where he drifts centrally on a stronger foot, on his stronger side. And when he does that, if you're going to have a player who's going to drift in, Cancelo's just a better pick. Before we had him, it made sense to maybe use him in conjunction with Mendy. But if you've got a choice of playing Cancelo on the left or Zinchenko, Cancelo over Zinchenko is a bigger upgrade than Cancelo over Walker would be if you prefer him on the right. So the problem is when you've got the squad depth like we do, you don't get that opportunity to thrive and show what you can do. And it's why I'm happy Angelino has gone to Red Bull and making a name for himself there. He's a fantastic player, but in our system, the way that we play, he was never going to get what he actually deserved. And I'm glad to see him doing better now. And I hope the same can be done for Zinchenko.
Interesting one.
Yeah, Zinchenko was extremely helpful to us when Mendy was injured, obviously. But exactly what you guys said, Mendy, Cancelo, Ake, and maybe swooping in the transfer market either in January or in the summer for someone else. Who knows?
Yeah.
It might be time.
This is going to sound harsh now. I really miss Leroy Sané. I said a few months ago weeks ago, sorry, if we still had Sané, City would be top of the league now because of that. Is that striking threat? Torres is going to be brilliant. I'm really excited about seeing Torres. But do we still need that another winger type, attacking, fast-paced, forward type player? Do you still? Or have we got enough in our squad to be able to deal without him?
Yeah. I think like Sane was more beneficial in the 4-1-2-3 or the 4-3-3 formation, but now because we're starting the 4-2-3-1 formation with that one central forward, it's not helping City because they're used to having three in the front and then two attacking midfielders or offensive midfielders setting up the passes, and then the wing backs getting up for crosses and to help out on the wing, and then that single pivot to get the ball up.
From a transfers perspective, Addy, you mentioned Jack Grealish as an option coming in. There's people that would say actually they would prefer Jack Grealish over Messi because of what he can actually bring, the longevity and not having the hype that comes with Messi come to us. What's your thoughts on Grealish?
Grealish is, as you've seen at Aston Villa, he is a great playmaker, putting in the passes, through balls, crossing and scoring. He's all three. He's a full 9 yards. I think he could offer more than Messi would, as well as almost any other transfer. And he can play that. He can sometimes play that defensive midfielder role, as well as the pivot. And he can play on both sides of the midfield, like the right and the left, and he uses both legs as well, both feet. And I mean, he would cost more because Villa obviously wants to get almost every penny out of us for Grealish. But it would be best if we tried to invest in him more than looking for Messi, because he will just fit in our. Because if you look at how Villa plays, it's more similar to City than how Barcelona plays, with Messi coming in.
So he's 25, he's right-sided, he can play on the left side of midfield as well. I don't think his transfer value, market value, has any been higher than what it is now. I'm unsure on Jack Grealish, and I don't know why. There's just a niggle somewhere that says he's going to be more hassle than he is good. Tibbs, what's your thoughts on Grealish? Could you persuade me into thinking he's going to be a perfect signing for us?
I genuinely like him and what he brings, but it would be very different from Messi. We talked about how Messi can run at you and dribble, and he can find these spaces. I don't know that Grealish has that, but he does bring that creativity. Now, do we have that creativity today? I think we do with obviously KDB. Who is a playmaker. I do like the idea of investing in someone a little younger, but if it has to be between Messi and Grealish, it would still be hard for me to say no to Leo.
What are you thinking, Cloud?
I think Messi and Grealish are two different players, and they'd offer different things to us. But I want to touch back on something you said earlier in the podcast when you asked me about Garcia. And you seemed a bit upset that he might be taking game time away from Harwood Bellis. Every time I see Villa play, Grealish either plays in a midfield role or on the left wing.
Yeah.
Which is exactly where Phil Foden plays.
Yeah.
So we'd be paying a huge sum of money to play in the positions where Foden has been playing excellent in. He's been playing great in there. And that would be a surefire way to get Foden to think, I'm never going to play here, and push him out. And he's an excellent player. He brings so much energy. And Jack Grealish is a warrior, and he's going to get a move to a top side somewhere. But we just don't have the capacity to bring him in to the squad and rotate everyone fairly.
You get the feeling with Grealish he would be the luxury type player that we don't necessarily need to bring in, whereas a striker is an essential for us. I think if we were going to bring anyone else in at any other position, there'd be a luxury player right now. I think. Do you all agree with me that a striker needs to be our absolute top priority?
Yeah, striker. Yeah. Fernandinho is leaving soon too.
Fernandinho.
So Yeah. Going on that topic as well, the Aguero contract situation. It's ending out this summer, I think.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he'll get an extension. You know, I think he'll get an extension.
Yeah.
So do I.
Yeah, that's actually something. I mean, on one side, people want to bring in a younger, more talented player, but a lot of people don't want to leave like Aguero because they're leading goal scorer and everything. It's kind of a war between two sides.
It is, and the best thing about Sergio is in his twilight of his career, which is where he's at now. He's getting to the stage where, you know what, a fox in the box, bring him on for the last 10 minutes of a game to score a winning goal. He can do that. He doesn't need to run the length of the pitch and take on 20 people. As long as he's in the right place at the right time, let everyone else do the running around for him. I'm not averse to give him another year. The only thing that makes me think that, because if he gets another year extension, that means we're going to sign Messi. I'm just convinced that if Pep signs a new contract, done. Sergio signs a new contract. He's one of his best mates. If he signs a new contract, actually, there's rumours there that are going to be going absolutely overdrive that Messi's going to be coming as well. So it's an interesting one. Oh, I'm excited now. Oh, I don't know. I love Messi at City. I absolutely love him. As a City fan for a very long time, like you guys, the idea of signing the world's best or the former world's best player really excites me. I don't really care how much he costs. I don't pay his wages. I buy my City shirts. I'm a season ticket. They could do whatever they want with the money as long as they bring in the trophies. I couldn't really care less. But he is. I just said a minute ago that I didn't like these luxury players. He's the luxuriest of the luxuriest, isn't he, of players? So does he go against what I've just said? Sorry, Addy, what were you saying?
Like if we were to get Messi, we would have to move back to a 4-3-3 or 4-1-2-3, because Messi wouldn't really fit in the 4-2-3-1 because he is more of a support player and he's more on the right side, so we would need like three forward players and then like 2 midfielders. So that's where Messi would fit in and play best.
Yeah.
He's at the start.
Well, do you know what? Let's talk again in a month or two's time after January's ended, and let's see if Pep was telling the truth in signing or not signing people. But lads, thank you for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Definitely, thank you.
Fantastic. We're going to do it again soon.
Yeah, sounds great. Let us know.
Great stuff. Right, well done, guys. Have a lovely evening. I'll speak to you soon.
You too. Take care.
Catch you later, boys.
Guys.
Have a good one. See you soon.
See ya.
Take
See
care.
ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, that's it. That's the Manchester is Blue mix up with the Discord lads. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did filming it. Thank you very much for watching, and we will speak to you soon. Goodbye.